Hello everybody, you can see me there. What I've got here are some mugs I threw yesterday. I'm just going to put some handles on. I'll show you how I put handles on. There's all different ways of doing it, but these are just cut straight off the wheel, thrown with a wobble in them. So I'm thumbing off the bottom of this here. They just cut straight off, they're not turned. When I'm doing that, I'm looking at the profile of it because it's got a bit of a wave in it. I'll try and pick a suitable profile that looks the best. So I think I'll do it there. I'll just score it. In here I've got some slip. It's just from the throwing bucket, and I put some white vinegar in. And a friend of mine, Daryl, swears by it, and it prevents cracking. It's good for when you're doing big pots and putting them together, big seams. The vinegar apparently etches its way into the clay and makes a better seal. To be honest with you, touch wood, since I've used it, I've not had any cracking in any of the pots. So you just pour enough in, tub that size, a couple of capfuls, until you can smell it. It smells of vinegar in here at the moment. But so while that's soaking in a little bit, we'll prepare the handle. I pulled these yesterday, just off a lump of clay, just pull them roughly, just to give them a start, but they are quite stiff now. They're the same consistency as the body of the clay. This is still soft, you can still deform it, squeeze it, so it's just about leather hard. And that's the same. Just chop the end off. Make it level, and then we need to splay this end out. And the reason for that is that if you just cut a piece of clay and stick it on, when you start to form it and press it on the pot, it can go in and make a kind of indentation. It's not very, doesn't look very nice, I don't think. You need a nice smooth transition into the body. So that's what this will give once you spread it out. The bit I cut off there, I put on piece of wood here, and that will come in useful in a bit. I'll show you that. So we score that. Just a dab of this slip with vinegar in, and then place it on the pot, on the cup. If you move it backwards and forwards, it'll slide on the slip, and then suddenly it'll just grab. Well, that's on now. Because I threw these yesterday and they're a bit stiffer, they're not so floppy and horrible. Some people can just put a piece of clay on and pull it straight out. I can't do that. My friend Ken Taylor can do that, he's brilliant at handles. I don't do handles very often. These are just some mugs I'm doing for stock. Certain shows, some people, customers like mugs with handles rather than tea bowls. So we just smooth it in. If you can see it there, because I've flattened the end of this, it allows you to smooth it into the body without there being an indentation there. Okay, and then we dip it in some water. I don't know if you can see the water, but it's on your bucket of water here. And I'll just turn you a little bit. It's just a question of pulling it off the pot. Get right in to there with your hands. Start pulling from here, you have it with a lump. So just pull it down, turn it this way, if you pull it a couple of extra strokes towards the end like that, it tapers it and you get a nice taper to the handle. should be long enough now. Just offer it up. I like a generous handle, don't like little ones. Same again with the bottom of it. Slide it backwards and forwards until you find it bites, and then smooth it out. Bit of a sponge. And then what I do now is I just run my finger, I don't know if you'll see it, but I run my finger up the inside there, and it gives a little bit of lift to the handle, because when you've pulled it down, this bit here can tend to sag a little bit, and it all adds to the sort of the aesthetic of it. I think it gives a bit of life to it, a bit of spring to the handle. So I just, with my finger, I just put the bit of spring back into it there, and then the bit I cut off the top is on a board here. Any clay that you join will split away and crack along the seam that you give it. Okay, so if you don't give it any seam, so if you make sure that this is smoothed in properly there, there's a slight crack here, and when it dries there's a chance that'll ping off or crack off, or give it, you don't have to give it a chance really. So the clay I cut off there at the top, I just take a little bit of it. Some people have a little rolls of clay to pop in, and you just pop a little bit of clay in there. Move it in with a finger. I don't use rolls. You can use rolls of clay. I don't, because you have to dry your hands, pick it up, put it in. I can't be bothered. It's too much like hard work. So use a wet finger and just smooth it in. Double check that. They're a bit naive and chunky, my handles, but it goes with the pot. Now what's happened there is, by pressing on, I've deformed it because it's still soft. So the last thing, we just put the circle back in. Like that. Make sure that it's level, straight. I used to put my stamp on there right at the end, but because it's wet it clogs the stamp up, so I'll do that later, and then leave it, go back and wipe it a bit more a bit later on, and don't faff around with it too much now. And those are my handles. A lot of people can do them a lot better, but this is what I do. Okay.